Okay. Okay, so Sam, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Sam Panny.
This is my boyfriend Sam, and he's actually a great example. He's been under my dietary care and my health advice for the past 2 years now, so he's great. Can you tell me a little bit about your eating patterns before we met and just like your overall health journey?
So, when I was younger, like way prior to us meeting, it's like 17, 18, I had a history of substance abuse. So, my food intake was very, very poor, and I was very, very skinny, and just really unwell, all put together there. But once I got sober, and started eating, I kind of got myself up to around 190 pounds, which for me was kind of always like a good healthy weight, in that I'm like 6'2" is like a good weight for me to be. And then around COVID, I had Grayson, and
This is his son.
that's my son, yeah. My eating habits became horrendous. I like to say I was on the Oreo cookie diet, and I actually gained a lot of weight. I was around 220 pounds, which was crazy for me. I have never been that weight in my life. But then I started working out and riding the bike. I bought a Peloton and kind of improved my workout methods. I didn't really improve my eating methods at that time, but just working out helped me kind of get back to baseline of right around 190, 195 pounds.
And that's kind of where we are today.
Yeah.
So we'll go over
Yeah,
where we are today. We have a scale at our house that actually does all of our metrics for us. So today, Sam is 207 pounds, which actually, this is why I don't like measuring weight like this, but that actually would be considered overweight. His BMI would be considered overweight. His body fat is considered healthy at a 14.7. Overweight would be a 17%. His visceral fat is great at a 9%, with 11% being overweight. Okay, so this is where things get interesting, and this is why I don't love this method, but his muscle mass is actually 81%, which is beyond adequate, and that's why a lot of these numbers are showing that he's overweight. And this is an issue, I think, with a lot of people that have a lot of muscle mass. They look at the scale, or they exercise a lot, especially women, or they put on muscle. The scale begins to go up, their BMI goes up as their weight goes up, and they can start considering themselves as being overweight and actually decrease their amount of exercise or weightlifting. But when you look at muscle mass, it's 81%, which is beyond adequate, and really like at an athletic level. Another thing I really like doing, which I think is better, is his waist to hip ratio being at a 0.9, and that's an indicator of good health. And I think for women, depending on what your goals are, if you want to squat or have a more defined waistline, doing measurements waist to hip is better than doing BMI. Unless you have a ton of visceral fat or you have metabolic syndrome, I don't think that is a great indicator. And then looking at his blood pressure, it's almost perfect. It's 125/79. His pulse is 74, and this is like absolutely great and ideal. He does have a history or family history of high triglycerides. He personally has had high triglycerides, and this is, we think, a genetic issue, but he did grow up eating a meat and potatoes diet and not really a lot of fresh fish, being from Pennsylvania, right?
Yeah, I really never, it was very, very rare that I ever had fish prior to me moving to Florida, and really even prior to meeting Lauren, I really never had fish. Now I kind of switch it up and I eat a ton of fish. But growing up, I really ate steak and potatoes all the time, chicken, a lot of beef. So it was very, very different than how I eat now.
Which is more Mediterranean style. So we'd have to redo the numbers and get different blood work to see, but I think you've definitely incorporated more fish, more diverse foods, having a lot more fiber, having a lot more vegetables.
For sure.
So when I met him, I could see, I guess, the pattern, you were eating meat 3 or 4 times a week, and every time we went out, he would order steak, which is probably an indicator of his high triglycerides. But I'm sure that has resolved. So talking about his activity level, I think this is really where he exceeds all expectations, and this is why his health is so great. He works out 6 times a week.
Yeah, I do a lot of work.
Weightlifting,
Yep.
HIIT classes. So I think that's why your muscle mass is so great, and you're doing yoga, so he's incorporating stress reduction, breath work, as well as doing infrared saunas,
Yep,
which is
and
a great
cold plunge.
lymph mover, doing cold plunges. I would say 3 to 4 times a week.
Yeah, try and do, depending upon what my workout was, will kind of vary on what my schedule is with the cold plunge. It also depends upon how I feel, because it's like a kind of a big mental mountain to climb to do that. But I try and do that at least 3 to 4 times a week. I've done it for the past 3 or 4 days in a row. But
I think that
yeah,
it contributes a lot to his cardiovascular health. And then when you're looking at his pulse, so we wear something called an Oura ring, which actually tracks your REM sleep, your heart rate, and your basal temperatures, which is great for women that are considering getting pregnant and seeing when they're ovulating. But in terms of his heart rate, when he's sleeping, it goes down to 46 beats per minute. That's incredible. And then while he's exercising, it goes up to 187 beats per minute.
yeah, it's like my max.
Which is it's a great indicator of health, because it's going really high, his heart, and it's also at rest really, really low. So you can really tell that he has an athletic lifestyle based on how low his heart rate gets. I mean, if you look at my heart rate, it's probably 80 beats per minute. I tend to be more of an anxious person, and this is all throughout the day and even before bed. And if you look at some of the indicators on his body, you can see that he has a strong build, great posture, your dental hygiene. You get people ask him if he has fake teeth all the time. Doesn't really have any gut issues. I mean, I think you're on a pretty strong probiotic. Yeah. Would you say you have any gut issues? I think that most of the time you eat so clean that when you do eat something unhealthy, it's really reactive.
Yeah, when I do eat something poor, it reacts very quick. But since we eat so clean, it's a very quick cycle where it kind of gets
washes
out.
Yeah,
and I'm okay.
And I think that we did incorporate having chlorophyll, which is great for breath. I mean, I know that as human beings, the gut is a really big indicator of breath, but the chlorophyll seems to be great for just general body odor. The only thing that I would say about your skin is acne on your back, but that I don't think it's any gut issues. I think it's just from exercise, going to the gym 3 times a week, not showering right after.
Yep.
Overall, I mean, some of the things you want to address would be lower body fat. I think that in the mornings, your cortisol, because you're drinking coffee, not eating till 2 or 3 in the day, your cortisol is high, and you're holding on to a lot of what you eat, and it's spiking your insulin because you're eating too late in the day, and your body's kind of going into a fight or flight response. So having more fiber, putting collagen or protein, or having something in the morning, really, I think counting your macros if you want to reach optimal fitness goals, because you're already so high with your fitness goals. If you really want to get to the next level, counting your macros could be a good option, and increasing your protein to maybe 100 grams a day, because I know you really don't look at protein. Starchy carbohydrates, he definitely has a lot of, which is great for resistant starches in your gut and fiber, but you don't seem to have any gut issues. I think omega-3s, I've always tried to get him to take omega-3s for the triglycerides and heart health, but the exercise, I think, is taking your heart to a good place. So your goals are?
I really want to just really reduce my lower stomach fat so I could get a 6-pack, because I only have upper abs, not lower abs, and it's very difficult to do.
So he wants upper abs and he wants lower abs, not just upper abs, which I think would be cracking down and maybe measuring your food, and I could do that for you. But overall, he's in, I think, great health, and all of the tracking we do. We have this here, which we did his blood pressure just moments before this. we did his hip ratio, and then he wears also an
Or my Apple Watch
wears
and
Apple
my
Watch
Oura
with
Ring.
tracks, and he also wears his Oura Ring, which gives a lot of insight into his REM sleeps and also his heart rate and basal temperatures. Are you ever alarmed by any of the numbers that go off during the day, or like does your heart rate ever spike during a high cortisol moment or high levels of stress?
Actually, not really. The only time where the data off the Oura Ring really arises me is if I'm coming like sick or something, because it's like just all the numbers in there get really, really different, and it's just like, whoa.
Okay, so the
that's
Oura
odd.
Ring takes
Yeah.
a culmination of how well you're sleeping, your temperatures. I think your I don't know what other measurement it takes, but it takes your temperatures, REM sleep, and then what other anthropometric data?
It's temperature, sleep, and then it builds it all into one.
Yeah, it takes a
and
mean
then gives
of
me-
everything, gives you out a number,
Yeah.
and it will actually let you know if you're getting sick. So that's something that we love, and it also tracks his heart rate when he's working out.
Yep.
So I think everything's good, and we just need little changes, but overall, you're very healthy.
Thank you.